Good. Everyone can hear? Nice. Thanks, Rowan. Cool. Okay, we're just waiting for more people to come in. And yes, so we will start, probably give everyone like 32 more minutes. So 7:32, and then we'll begin. Cool. So you guys get ready. Do remember to take some notes, and we have code-along sessions. So prepare, make sure that you're on your laptops. And if everyone can turn on their cameras, that would be amazing. So I don't feel like I'm talking to myself, looking at the monitor. Cool. So if everyone can turn on the cameras, that'll help me a lot to keep me sane and not like I'm a crazy person talking to myself. All right. Cool. Thanks for turning your camera on, George. All right, can everyone tell me where you guys are joining in from? Like which state you guys are joining in from? And also like your level of, if you guys are new, are you guys new? If you guys are new, type in 1. If you guys have joined like the previous workshop, you can type in 2. So I'll know like where is your current level at. Okay, 1. Okay, so this is your first workshop. 1. Okay, 1, down 1, core 1, lex 1. Okay, Dam was also 1, Rowan. Okay, so a lot of people that haven't joined the previous workshop basically. Ong is also 1. Okay, cool. No problem. George 1. Oh, got more people coming in. Admit them in. Okay. All right. Okay, for those who have just joined, basically like share with me, like type in 1 if this is your first time joining in, and then type in 2 if you've joined the previous lesson, just so I know like where you guys are currently at. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's my first time joining.
First time joining? Cool. Nice to meet you. Ian is that correct? Hello, Dane. Hello. Okay. All right, just gonna wait for 7:32 and then we'll start. So okay, it looks like everyone is like majority of you guys are the first time coming in, which is fine. So what it is that we've actually covered in our previous workshop about variables and functions. So in that case, you guys we'll be covering in terms of like what we actually built on top. So today's topic is basically going to be the beginner level of condition and loops, right? I think I can just go ahead and start. So if everyone can hear me and good to go, just give me like an emote and then we'll start. So prepare your notes and stuff. Cool. Okay, cool. Amazing. Right. Okay. So today's workshop is conditional and loops. Mainly you'll be covering like the fundamentals and also walking you through like some coding exercises so you guys can actually see what you've learned and how do you actually apply that. So you guys, when I'm coding and like solving the challenges, you guys will actually need to work along with it and not just watch me do it, right? Try to solve it and try to understand. So if you have any questions, you can just ask in the chat. Okay. So basically, just a quick introduction on who we are, like Sigmaschool, like what we do. So in Sigmaschool, we are basically a education company, and we are one of the top coding bootcamps in Southeast Asia, right? We have so many cohorts right now that we have over 50 students basically coming into our cohort and graduating, landing jobs in tech. 98% have rated us 5-star over Google and Course Report, and 90% over like satisfaction in terms of all services, right? Let me just go ahead and admit more people in. Cool. All right, let's get back. So with our extend, we've started in 2023, and basically we've been partnering with a couple of major companies working to be able to collaborate in terms of hiring partners. So these are the companies that our graduates will be able to expose to. Now, we have many students of success. Basically, from these students of success, you can see that everyone comes from actually different background. So don't be intimidated by coding if this is your first time learning it. So coding is not going to be for everyone, but it can be learned by anyone, right? So if you're coming from a different background, a non-technical background, just understand that these students are coming from the same exact background as you did as well. So anyone can pretty much learn and pick up code, right? It's how you want to do it and whether this is something that you really like. So we've been actually documenting our journey, feature in press, basically sharing our journey and continuously improving, trying to help people like yourself through like events like these to be able to get into code and be able to break into technology, because technology is always increasing. So how to keep up? This is where we come in and bridge that gap. So basically enough about us. So I'm going to do a quick refresher for those that actually joined the previous event. So the previous workshop, what we covered was variables and functions. So in a whole and in short, what is variables? Variables are basically what coding based in JavaScript. They're essential for coding. For example, if Instagram, how does Instagram remember how many likes you have in your previous post? So every time when you log back into Instagram, why are you able to see like, okay, previously I had 59 likes, you log back in 5 minutes ago, 5 minutes later, and then you can still see 59 likes, right? That is basically what Instagram use, and they use variables as well. So variables basically hold data, and what you can see in these two images here, how we initialize and use variables in coding is going to be this way. So if you want to store, let's say your weight, which is 65 kgs. So how you do it is weight equals 65, right? And to visualize how basically the coding and JavaScript in general stores these data. So you can think of it like JavaScript creating a box, naming it what you name here, weight, right? And then you're putting the value 65 inside that box. And what that is basically variables. So that essentially in the whole, every time when someone says variables, you can think a box with a name, whatever name you want to call it, weight, height, age, whatever, and then you're putting the value inside, whether it can be your name, your age, or anything, depending on what you put in. So it's just a placeholder in the storage for values. That is variable. Now, functions. Functions are basically organized instructions. So over here, you can see in the picture below here, right? You can see how you actually create functions and what it does. So it's a single reusable code that you can actually call multiple times, and it does the same exact function, the same exact statements and the same exact instructions that you give it. So for example, if you are actually calling it to create a sum or multiplication, whatever. So this is, in this case, it's a sum function. So when you call it in this box, what you're doing is basically you're creating these lines, and every time you call the function sum, which is the name of the function, every time you call this sum, it executes the same exact line that you've placed inside. So if you want to call sum 4 times, all you need to do is just call sum 4, 5, sum 6, 7, sum 8, 9, and then it does the same exact sequence that is stored inside. That is what we call function. So you can think of it like if you want to do repeatable code and you don't have to like write it multiple times, what you do is you create a function for it. And all you need to do is call the function and it does the same exact thing. Make sense? If everything makes sense so far, you can just give me a thumbs up or like type in the chat 1. Cool. All right. Cool. All right. So that is going to be variables and functions. So now today's challenge and today's topic, it's mainly going to be conditions and loops. So today we'll be covering mainly on what conditionals are and also loops. So there are going to be a lot of variations, but what we're going to do is we're going to cover them step by step. Right, so we'll be also engaging in some like challenges and coding examples, so you guys can actually see how you actually apply these conditionals and loops and do the challenge that would actually see how you can actually solve these problems with the things you've learned. So first thing, Conditionals. Okay, what is conditionals, right? Conditionals are basically programs that execute on the decision whether is it true or false. So they are basically very essential because your code or the things that you build, like for example, Instagram again, they need to know whether have you liked the post or have you not liked the post. And when you like it, what does it do, right? So conditions are crucial to make be able to help JavaScript make decisions, right? So for example, you can think conditionals like a traffic light. So when the traffic light becomes red, what do? You stop, right? And when the traffic light is yellow, that means the driver needs to slow down. So when it becomes green, that's when the driver needs to go and move, right? So if it is red, stop. If it is yellow, slow down. If it is green, it means you can go, right? So these conditions, basically red, yellow, and green, these are basically the conditions that helps you determine what action should you take. What action should the driver do? If it's red, stop. If it's yellow, slow down. If it's green, go, right? Those are conditions. Now, that is like a real-world visualization. How do you actually see it in code? So we have multiple different types of condition. Today, we're actually going to be covering just if statement and if else statement, right? So if statement is a condition that determines a specific action, and inside that action is only run if the condition executes, if it's true. Now, over here on the right side, what you can see is an if statement and how the code in JavaScript would actually look like. So how you do it is over here, you can see at the top, right? If condition is true, so how you do it is you type if, and then you have a parentheses. Inside the parentheses is where you put the condition, right? So if this condition becomes true, so for example, let's take the traffic light example again. So if the traffic light is red, then inside here is the block you should execute. What you should put in here is driver should stop. So if red light, drivers stop. So it only execute when it's true. Let's say if you check in, if it's red, if it's yellow, and the light is actually red. What it does is actually becomes false. That means it skips whatever you put inside this block, right? So another example will be down here. So for example, you have two values. So value 1, this is a variable. So value 1 equals 20. Value 2 also equals 20. Now, when you create a condition if statement, this is when you want to check if value 1 equals value 2. So how you do it is this way. So you type in if, add a parentheses, and inside that parentheses, you want to create that condition. So to create that condition in JavaScript, what we do is we call the variable name value 1. 3 equal symbols. What that means is because one equal symbol in JavaScript is assigning values to a variable. Now, when you want to compare different things, for example, if you want to compare the two values, whether are they equal to each other, or two strings, are they equal to each other, or two things are equal, basically, when you want to compare them, what we call that is the equal operator. So to do that, we need 3 equal symbol. That's when you tell JavaScript, it's basically you're speaking JavaScript's language and telling it, okay, when you do this, you're basically comparing the left side and the right side. Are they identical? So with this format, you're asking JavaScript, is value 1 the same value as value 2, right? So in this case, because you can see that it's value 1 is 20, value 2 is also 20. So what happens when you execute this? It's going to be true, right? So when it's true, what it does, it's following the same example on the top here, is that you're going to go into this line and you're going to type in console log, both values are equal. Now, in the case if this value is actually 10, value 1, let's say value 1 is 10 and value 2 is 20. When you execute this, it determines that, okay, value 1 does not equal to value 2. What it does is it will skip this entire block and it will run whatever that's below it, right? Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up or type in 1 in the chat. Cool. All right, Ian, Roshini, Ong, cool, cool, cool. All right. Now, that is if statement. Now we have another one where it's if else. So like the name suggests, if this happens, else you do something else. So if else basically allows you to execute one block if it is true. And also you have another condition where if it is false, what do you do after that? And you only do either one, right? So this way you can handle more situations and more condition in the scenario. So in the case you won't accidentally go on a red light, or you won't accidentally stop in the middle of a green light, right? So in this example, how it looks like in code is the same thing like if statement, if parentheses a condition, and then you execute whatever is in between the block. So a block is determined by these curly braces, right? Now, if else statement is after the block ends from the if statement, you add an else that tells JavaScript, so if this is true, executes inside. But if it is false, then you have to execute this, whatever you put after the else. Does it make sense? So in this case, the same example again, if value 20, let's say value 1 is 10, and value 2 is 20. And if you run the same code here, because value 1 is 10 now, and value 2 is 20, it will become false. So what that happens is you'll follow this trace. If it's because it's false, then you execute whatever you place inside here, right? Okay, so let me just give you an example so that you can see it. So in if-else statement, one of the special things is that you don't only need two conditions, right? So you can have multiple different conditions layered on top of each other in a case, because of course, like for example, even the traffic light has 3 different conditions: red, yellow, and green, right? So in many cases, like even in our real life, we have many different conditions that we need to check. So in code, this actually helps us create that many different layers of condition. So for example, you can see on the left side. So if condition executes this, if it's true. Now you can also do if else, else if, right? Then you have a second condition that it checks. So if condition 1 fails, it'll check if condition 2, if it's true. If condition 2 also fails, it'll then go to the next if else if. Then it checks if condition 3 is true. If condition 3 is also false, what it does is goes back to the end of the else, and then it executes everything. So it goes layer by layer. So there's like step 1, fail. Step 2, fail. Step 3, fail, and then you go to else and then execute it. But in the case, let's say if condition 2 is true, what it does is basically it goes to step 1, okay, condition 1, fail. If else if condition 2, true. So what it does, it will execute this line and it'll skip the rest. Make sense? Now, for example, on the right, now you can put values into it and you can see how it take in action. So let's say we are checking someone's age, or you want to check your own age, right? And you want to see which category are you currently at. So let's say this person coming in is 25. So let's say I'm 25, right? So you want to check what is the output that you want to give. So if I'm 25, following this condition, let's do it step by step. So if the age variable is 25, this is checking is age under or less than. This is basically a symbol to less than symbol operator. So it's checking if age is less than 18. In this case, because 25 is bigger than 18, so this will be skipped because it's false. So what it does is it'll go down here and check the else if, the second condition. So now it's checking is age more than equals to 18, which is true because 25 is more than or equals to 18. So that's true. And so this to and symbol, that is an and operator. So this is basically telling JavaScript you're comparing if the left side and the right side has to be true, then you return a true. So if one side, left or right, is false, you return a false, right? So all of it has to be true to become a true in JavaScript with this operator, and operator. So right here, let's go back. Age 25 is more than equals to 18, true. And if is age less than 25. In this case, our age is exactly 25. So what it is that it's going to be false, because remember what I said? In this AND operator, both sides has to be true for the whole condition to be true. Make sense? Then, so because that, it becomes false, because one side is asking, is it less than 25? But we're not less than 25 because age is exactly 25. So what this does means is that this condition will be false. So you go to the next one, and now it checks again. Else if age is more than or equal to 25. So this is true because our age is 25 and it's equal to 25. Now the second one is and is age less than 60, which 25 is less than 60. So in this condition, both sides is true, and so what it does is this whole entire condition will return a true. And if it is true, you execute whatever is within that block. So that means JavaScript will read this entire line and console log adult 25 equals dash 59. So that means you're telling JavaScript, going to line by line, JavaScript will actually output only this specific line. So it will tell you, okay, adult 25 to 59. That is your age range, right? Now, that is how JavaScript does the conditional and goes to line by line, right? Okay, so now that you understand if else and if condition, what we're going to do is we're going to do some challenges so you can see, okay, now that you understand the concept, now can you actually apply the concept? Cool. Okay, so there is going to be some things that you're going to be doing. Now, I'm going to be sharing you a link in the chat. Give me 1 second. Now, this is where you guys will have to work along with me. So don't just watch me do it. This is where it's going to be interactive and you guys will actually be doing alongside. So I shared a link in the chat. What I want you to do is basically go ahead and click that link, and it should bring you to a page like this. Let's see if I can share the proper screen. Okay, and you see my screen, right? So now let me know if you click the link in the chat and you're seeing the same exact screen as I am. If you are, thumbs up. Cool. Okay. Now there's going to be next steps. Now, if you guys have an account in StackBits, go ahead and log in and stay logged in. So for those that don't have an account, what you're going to do is over on the top right here, like this side over here, you can see an icon. So right now I'm logged in, so you can see a picture of my profile over here, Sigmaschool. What you need to do is actually, if you're not logged in, you can actually see a button here asking you to sign in. What you can do is click sign in. You can either go ahead and create an account, or if you want to be quick, you can just sign in with your Google account. Now, once that is done, the next step you need to do is fork this project. What this means basically is create a duplicate of this project. So over here on the top right, you can see there is what we call fork. Over here, the button on the top left, this top left button, fork, I want you to click it once. What it does is basically, then you can get a pop-up saying project fork. What that means is that you have just created a duplicate of the project that I've shared with you. So once you've done that, you can double check it by clicking the name above here. So clicking this name, right? This name above at the top, you can see if it's duplicated. If there is a term duplicated, means you've just created a duplicate, a copy of the same project in your own profile. Make sense? Has everyone gone to that stage yet? Has everyone created a fork? Cool. Okay, so everyone created a fork of their project. Now, what you do, you can pretty much rename it to whatever you want. So, Emil's beginner challenge. Okay, I'm gonna name this so I know that okay, this is my this is the challenge and the project that I'm doing right now. Right? Now, Okay, I'm just gonna give you guys a couple of, for those that are still like creating an account and stuff like that, I will be giving you guys like 1 minute to basically do that. And then, yeah. So if you have any questions or issues, just feel free to chat, type it in the chat, and then I'll be able to help you. Right. So step one, sign in and or sign up. Those that have an account, sign in. Those that don't have an account, create one, and then basically you have a profile after that. Step two, fork the project. And then step three, once you guys are done, you can just type ready in the chat so I know that who's ready and whether we can move forward, right? So 30 seconds left.
Hi, is it possible to
Yep.
share that how to box the project?
How to fork the project?
Yeah, duplicate the project.
Okay, no problem. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so for those that have already forked their project, do type in the chat so I know like who's ready and who's not. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to this. Okay. Ong, is that correct? Have you clicked the link and do you see the same screen on basically your computer right now?
Yeah, I already signed in. Yeah.
Okay, you already signed in. Now, what I want you to do is once you're signed in, click the link, and if you see this same exact project, then what you're going to do is you can click this button on the top left. So over here, do you see my screen? So I'm sharing my screen. You can click this top button over here. Yep. So once you click it, and when it tells you there's a duplicate, so once you click it, it should give you like the name should have duplicated, or there should be a pop-up telling you duplicated. Once you see this in your project, that means you have already created and you're working on the copy that you created.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Already
Okay.
clicked.
Yep. Then you can go ahead and change it like email's copy, something like that, or your own name and whatever you want to name it.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Cool. All right, no problem. Okay, so now let's start with the challenge one. So this is going to be testing you and solving how to use if and if else, right? So the first one is going to be challenge one, create a condition with following the logic. So if the time is between 5 a.m. and 12 p.m., you want to output good morning. Now, if the time is 12 p.m., between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m., you want to output good afternoon. And if the time is anything outside of those time periods, you want to put good evening, right? So how do we do that? Okay. So first off, you want to create a constant. This is going to be a variable where we would actually set the time that we want to check. So you can do this, let's say 12 a.m. So we have to put it in a string. So 12 a.m. here, right? Let's just do this. And then what we're going to do is you're creating an if condition. So if the time equals 5 a.m., because you have to be in between 5 a.m. to 12 p.m., right? So what we're going to do is, okay, not string, let's do 12, 5. What we're going to do is also we're going to have a, what do you call that? So, yeah. Because it's going to be 5 now, because we want to check whether it's AM or PM. So you want to check if zone equals to AM, then that's the condition. Else if zone equals to PM. Now we've just created a condition to check whether it's AM or PM. Then we have to check whether is it between 5 a.m. and 12 p.m. or is it 12 p.m. between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. right? So now what we can do is we can create another condition inside. So this is where you can either create a condition within a condition, or you can just add it to the condition, the initial condition at the front, at the top. So now over here, it says if and, so and basically if the time is more than equals to 5 a.m. and time is less than 11, like this, right? Does it make sense? Or we can actually do 12. So this is checking whether is it 11 a.m. Is it going to be between 5 a.m. and 12 a.m., right? But now we want to check whether is it going to be 5 a.m. and 12 p.m. So what we're going to do is create two parentheses here. Oh, sorry. Like this. And we're going to check, and the time is more than, is also going to be 6, because it's 1 p.m. less than equals to 1, and time is, oops, less than equals to 6. Okay, so we don't need to do this. We can keep it in, but we don't have to, because after 12 p.m. it'll basically go here, right? Now, what it does is, because we will say otherwise, output would be good evening. So we have to, another condition, we basically, for anything, the time that is outside of this condition. So over here, I'll put console log. So we want to say good morning, right? And over here, we want to say console log good afternoon. And over here, we want to console log good, oops, good evening, right? So what this means is basically it's going to log if the time zone is AM and it is more than 5 a.m., less than 12 p.m., it will basically say good morning. And if it is the zone is going to be in PM, it has to be more than equals to 12. Okay, no, it's more than equals to 1. And it has to be less than 6, meaning anytime in between. So what it does is basically if we run this, say I want to do 6 a.m. to debug, this is actually not the best way. So actually the best way would be creating loops. But I think right now, let's just to get the point across. It's basically, this is how I would debug it. Okay, so to run this, let's see. Oh, okay. There's a typo. So it's conditionals. Okay, so 6 a.m., which is correct, and it's good morning. Now, let's say if I want to do 8 a.m., what's the output going to be? So every time when you make a change in the code, you actually should run, save it, and then run what we call node. So this is how you debug it. So when you type in node, and you have to type in the, how I basically debug and run this code that I just did is typing in node, because you're running Node.js. So node, N-O-D-E, and then you type in the file that you've just added the code in. So conditionals.js, like this. So it says good morning. Now let's say, also because it's 8 a.m. Now let's say I want to do 3 p.m. I type in 3 p.m., save my code, and then I do the same thing, node conditionals.js, then it's good afternoon. Now let's say if I'm doing 7 p.m., which is then going to be outside of that range, save that. What it does, it's going to be good evening. So anything in between these ranges, it will go into the conditionals. Make sense? Okay, now let's do challenge 2. Yeah, challenge 2 is a bit longer. Now, okay, so there's going to be, let me go up a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and start challenge 2. So create a function that would check if the username and password entered by the user matches the value saved. So this is basically every time, for example, when you're logging into your Gmail or logging into your accounts, what do you want to check? So how does, like, for example, Facebook know that you're actually the person that you say you are? So they always ask you, give me your username and password, and you have to type in the same username and password that you just signed in. Right? So these are like accounts that you create anywhere else, whether it can be a bank account, whether it can be your whatever account, right? So this is basically the condition that you'll be checking the username and password is going to be matching what you just created with. So let's follow the step-by-steps. So step 1, create a function called check credentials and take 2 parameters, username and password. So now this, I understand that a lot of you have not attended like the previous one. So you guys might not be familiar with functions. What it is that we are actually going to not create a function, but if you want, you can go watch or join the next event that covers variables and function. So what it is this time we can skip creating a function, but what you need to do is basically create an if statement to check if the given username is equal to admin and the password is equal to secret. So what do we have to do first? First, we have to make sure we are saving these variables so that we can check it later. So what it is that we create username equals to username equals to, say, admin, which is earlier. So you want to save it as the username is admin, constant password equals to secret, right? Okay, so this is like what Facebook, you save your username and password in Facebook, right? Now you want to create a condition that gets users to type in their username and password, and you want to check it whether does it equal this and this. So that is the challenge. So you want to prompt users to enter their username and password, assign the variable enter user. So how we do that in the terminal. So this is basically the terminal that we are using to test our code. So how we do that is we can create a variable called let enter username equals to prompt. So this basically prompts the user in the terminal username. And anything that's typed after would basically save that value that you type in the terminal into this variable. Now we want to create the same thing for entered password. And here, type in password. Right? Let me save that. So now it's good practice to always test your code, right? So let's see if this works. Let me go ahead and comment these guys. Let me just delete them or comment them. You can do both, but doing one challenge at a time, you want to like either comment or comment will be /, or you can just delete them if you're comfortable with that. So let me test my code. Okay, so it's asking me for my username over here at the bottom, so you guys can see. I've just run my code and it's asking me for my username and password. Okay, so let me just run that again. So it's asking for username. I'm typing email, password, right? So because I didn't create a condition yet, so it's not going to do anything after I've just typed in my username and password. So now we have to check whether does it match the username and password saved inside this code. So how do we do that? Is we're going to call this now. Okay, so we have to create another function, but this time let's just skip functions. Let's just go straight to the condition. So to do the checking, what we want to do is we want to check if this username, so remember this operator means you're checking the left and right, does it match? So what you want to do is this. So now with this, what I just wrote is if the username that I just typed in equals to this username. So if it is, what do you, then the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the password is also correct, right? So to do that, password, or let's just follow the same structure, password equals to password, right? So if the enter username equals to the username, that's if it matches, and the password also matches, that means you want to console log you have logged in, right? This is just for us to know that we have typed in the correct password. Now, another condition is else, if it's wrong, you got what you want to do is you want to console log and say wrong password or username or password. So this way we know, like, okay, I'm not the correct user, or I'm typing something wrong. Something's going wrong, right? Someone's trying to join in. Okay, so we just entered this code where we have a username and password, and we are asking the user to type in the username and password, and we are checking, does it equal admin, and does the password equal secret, right? This is the condition that we use. So the condition that we created is if the username that I keyed in, and does it match the username that is saved, and if the username, if the password that I type in equals secret that is saved inside here. If it is, I'll put this. If it's not, that means you're wrong username or password. So what I can do is I say this, run my code. So over here, I'm asking, okay, what is my username? Let's say I key in the correct username, admin. But this time, let me try admin as the password. So because my username and password is not going to be the same as what is saved in here, what happens is that there we go, wrong username or password. Does it make sense? So that condition, that tells me that the condition works. Now, if I run my code again, if my username is admin and my password is secret, so it matches it, admin, secret, when I enter, you have logged in, right? So that means our condition works. So this is how you create condition. Does everyone understand? Username and password. Let me do another example. Username, let's say we do secret. Okay, a wrong username, but our password is correct. That would still tell us wrong username or password because they both have to match in this condition in order to tell you that you have successfully logged in. Which in real life scenario, if you type in the wrong username and you type in the correct password, it wouldn't log you in, correct? So this is like the real life scenario of how like if else conditions would actually work. Does everyone understand? If everyone's good, give me a thumbs up. Cool. All right. Okay. Now, let me go back. So we have to cover loops as well. So let me go back to the slides and cover loops. Okay. So that is basically if and if else statements. So conditionals, right? Loops. So what is loops? So loops are basically repeated codes that you want to do multiple times more than the times that you want to type in. Even if you have a function, but you want to execute the function multiple times. So let's say, take roller coaster for example, right? So roller coaster, you can go sit in a roller coaster as many times as you want, but then loops basically allows you to determine how many times and what are the conditions that you want to stop sitting back, like going back to the same circuit of the roller coaster, right? So that is loops. In this case, if you want, to set how many times you go around the roller coaster before you stop, that is what loops also is able to help you do. So repeated actions over and over again, iterating between different things. That is loops. So how it looks like in code. So for what we're going to be covering mainly today is there's many different types. So for loops, do while loops, while loops. Today we're just going to be covering for loops, right? So this loop basically is going to be covering one of the essential loops that you'll be using often in JavaScript. So for loop is basically you are able to identify a block of code that you want to repeat for a specific number of times. So how it looks like is you would have what we call 3 different types of parameters that you'll be doing and statements. It is initialization, you have a condition, and you have increment or decrement in one single line. So how it looks like is at the bottom over here, you can see how you initialize it is there will be a form inside the parentheses. There will be a form of initialization of a variable, which is the counter. And there will be a condition that you check the counter and whether how many times you want to increment or decrement, right? So if you want to look at it as like a graph, like what are the flow chart? How does it look like? Not just code. So as illustration is when you start, you do the initialization of the variable, how many times you want, when do you start, and how many times you want to increment. So it checks. Has it reached its limit of the number of attempts you want to do? For example, you say, I want to go on a roller coaster, that singular roller coaster ride 5 times. So it will check, have you done 5 times? So you start from 1, and then you check, okay, this is the first time, so that means you haven't hit the number that you want, which is number 5. So okay, it's true. Let's sit again. Sit on the roller coaster. Increment by 1. Okay, you finish 1. Now it checks again. Okay, now this is your second attempt. Is it 5 times? Not yet. You go back and sit on the ride again. Increment 1 more time. Now it checks. Okay, this is your third time sitting on it. Like, is it number 5? No, you're not satisfied. Go back and sit on the ride again. So this repeats all the way until you have sit on the roller coaster 5 times, and then it determines, okay, now that your condition has met, and okay, so you've already sat 5 times, and you don't want to pass 5 times. So what it does, it just ends the loop. So it gets out of it. So over here, for example, how it looks like in code is not going to be typing initialization condition. So in code is you have to initialize a variable. So what we usually do is we'll start with a number or a value. So we'll start with 0, and the condition is if I, meaning what we usually do is index, the short form for index, or in your case, if you want to put in whatever name, you can as well. But in common, what we do is index. So if the index is less than 5, then we'll execute this code 5 times. Execute it once, and then it checks. So after it does that, it does an increment. Every single time it runs this statement, it would then increment. What this does is basically you're incrementing. So plus plus in JavaScript is you're adding 1 to a variable, the number. So every time, say, you're now at 0 for the first time. Okay, 0 is less than 5. So you execute whatever statement you put in here. Then after you execute, it goes to this section and it's plus plus. So plus plus means 0 plus 1. So now I equals 1 because it's 0 plus 1. Then it checks, is I less than 5? Because we plus 1, so I equals 1. 1 is less than 5. True. So it goes here, executes the statement, and then it increments again. So then I plus 1. So earlier, because we already did 1, so it's 1 plus 1. So I equals 2. Now it checks here. I less than 5. So is 2 less than 5? No. So that means you execute the statement again. So execute the statement and then I plus plus. So I plus plus equals to I plus 1. But our previous value is 2. So 2 plus 1, 3. Then it goes on and on again. Make sense? So the value 5 is basically the condition that you are telling it. As long as I is less than 5, you execute the code. And then you add 1, the value 1 to it. Make sense? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. Cool, thank you. Core, Ian, George, Oshini. Okay, let's move on. So now, for loop, how it looks like in code as well, it's basically like this. So in a case, let's say you want to like say hello to 5 different people, or 5 people have logged in and you want to say hello to each of them. Instead of like typing like hello 5 individual times, what you can do is use the same function that you've learned just now and do this. So initialize I equals to 0 and I is less than 5. And every time it's less than 5, once you execute it, you add like 1, basically the value, the number 1 to it. So then here, the statement now is every time you run the execution, you're actually printing hello world and the value I. So as you run the code, you can see that, okay, the first time, because I is 0, so you print hello world I 0, right? Then what it does is it would add 1. So it goes here. And because 1 is less than 5, it will print out hello world 1 again. And then add 1, which is 2. 2 is less than 5, executes this, hello world. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But because after it executes hello world 4, it does this increment, which then equals to 5. So I is now equals to 5 at this point, after it executes this line. And with this condition, 5 is not less than 5. 5 equals 5. So that means this statement is false, condition is false. When this statement condition is false, what it does, it then exits the loop. So that's why over here in your output, you only see hello world 0 all the way to 4. Make sense? Cool. Now let's see. Okay, so in this case, for loop, you can also initialize it with, so for example, in this case, we are doing it in I equals less than 10. Instead of 5 times, we're doing it less than 10. And in this case, instead of incrementing it one number, you're incrementing it by 2. So every time it prints hello world, you are actually adding 2. So type in how many times, okay, besides, let's not go in here first. Like if I were to run this code right now, what do you think, how many times how many times would you think hello world would be printed? And what is the number behind? Can anyone? Looking at this for loop, what would the output be? How many hello world will I print out, and what are the numbers behind it? Anyone?
Maybe 5 times.
5 times? Okay, let's see. Okay, now let's see. Load test. Let me run this code. 5 times. What will be the numbers behind the hello world? Okay, so Core says 4 times. Ian says 4 times. The number would be 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. So Dane, you mentioned 5 times. What would be the number that would be printed out after, for each of the hello world, what is the number after that?
Shouldn't it start from 0, 2, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8?
Okay, so you said 5 times. Some people said 4 times. Ian said 4 times, 2, 4, 6, 8. Dane said 5 times, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, let's see who's correct. All right, so we actually ran it 5 times, and it started from 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So Dane is correct, right? So how this logic works is that because you always start with I equals 0 first. So this is the initialization. So when I is equals to 0, it is less than 10. So it does print this first. only after it prints the first condition, the initialization value, then it only adds 2. So if you're looking by what it does in order, so how it works, how it looks like visualization is so it does this. So I equals to 0. This is the first line. Then later on is I is less than 10, which is true, right? Then the second line will be console log, basically this. Here, right? Here. Then it only executes this. So in sequence, this is how it does. So I equals to 0, I less than 10. Okay, it's true. So you execute this line. Let me go up here so you can see both at the same time. So I equals true, I less than 10 equals true. Console.log hello world, I, so that means it's going to be 0, right? And then only I plus 2. That's the flow of it. So let's go to the next condition is, okay, then now that I plus 2 plus equals 2, that means it's 2 now. 2 is still less than 10, which is true. So what it does is it prints 2. Now, then it's I equals 2. But when I plus equals 2, that means I equals 4. Now, 4 less than 10, true, prints 4. So it starts from 0 and it goes all the way to 8. Yeah. So close one on Ian and Core. So what you're missing is just the first initialization. So it does repeat 5 times, right? Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, some challenges right now. So I know we've got 5 more minutes. Bear with me. So let's go back to what the stack blitz. So we do have loops. I just want to like cover one challenge with you guys so you guys can actually see like how it's actually done. Can you guys see my screen? You guys can see my screen. Thumbs up. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Dane. Okay, thank you, Ian. Okay, let's do challenge 1, right? So create a for loop that prints out the numbers 6 to 12 inclusive. That means you have to include 6 and 12 as well. So for, now we first have to always initialize. Let's say we start with 6. So because we want to print the number 6 first and then all the way up to 12, right? So 6, now the condition is, oops, not end, let, right? Now you want to check is 6 less than 13. So we can either, because we want to include 12 as well, so we can do it 2 different ways, right? So we can either do it less than 13, or we can also do it less than equals to 12, right? Then I plus plus, right? So here we are trying to print out I, right? So over here, what it does is it wants you to print out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's see if we actually done that correctly. So I saved it. No, now we are in the file called loops.js. So I have to type in that name of the file to be able to debug it. Type in enter. So it does 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it does exactly what we wanted to do. Now, in this case, you can also do it this way. 13. 1, 2, 3, 13. Let's save this. And let's run it. Now, then it's going to be functioning the same exact way. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So those two also work as well. As long as this condition is true, it would then go ahead and execute whatever is inside that block. Make sense? Yeah. So it always executes on the first index or the first initialization. Let's say if we were to like put 0 and we want to initialize it with 0, what it does is actually it's going to run from 0 all the way to 12. So this is what loops are. So in this case, say you want to say do specific thing. So right now we're just printing the number, which is not complex. But later on in the future, once you have mastered like these fundamentals, you want to print or do specific tasks. This is where you can actually maximize loops and be able to help you do repeated tasks. Maybe you want to go through like a bunch of a list of people, or maybe you want to you have a lot of like people you want to call, or maybe you have like a bunch of things to do's you want to do and you want to check off. Now then this is where loops will come in handy, right? So this is also how let's say when you're creating a group on Instagram and you want a message and everyone sees the same exact message, this is what loops can pretty much help you do that as well. Make sense? Cool. All right, let me go ahead and go back to the slides. So now just to do like a quick wrap up, this is basically loops. And so this is just one portion of loops and one portion of conditionals. Now what we have is a next event where we are also going to be running in terms of like conditionals and loops as well, but not the same one. So we've studied if and if-else statements in conditionals. The next one, we are actually going to be doing switch case conditionals. And in loops, we will actually be doing while loops. And we will also be doing in terms of a little bit of understanding what array is. So this is where you can actually go use loops and do while conditionals, more conditionals inside those arrays. Right? So that will be the next event. What you guys can actually look forward to is for those that actually want to join in the next event, or maybe you missed out the previous one and you want to join in and learn like what is variables and function more in depth, you can go ahead and go to our free workshop events on our page and you can register for like our future events. So we'll be posting events, looking to be posting like weekly basis. So then keep an eye out on our website and then we'll be able to update you guys on that. I'm going to share the link basically so that you guys can take a look at that. And okay, let me go ahead and go to the chat. So I'll be sharing with you guys a bunch of links here. So okay, here. So for the first one, it's going to be the bootcamp, the workshop. Now, for those that are much more advanced and they want to, you know, okay, I don't want to do like these workshops anymore. I'm ready and I want to become like a software engineer. What we specialize is the bootcamp. So you guys are interested and want to see if you guys are eligible, because you have to be certain interests and we want to make sure if you're going to be a good fit. To sign up, you can go ahead to our immersive bootcamp, sigmaschool.co/sign up. That's where you can actually see if you are eligible. Now, for those that want to try out our free starter pack, this is basically like a mini roadmap where you guys can start. You guys will have 6 projects that you can finish in 6 days. In there, they are basically going to be covering like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the starter pack, walking you through step by step. To be able to get that, just go ahead to the links that I shared in the chat. Number 2, this is where you can sign up, and in your email, we'll be sending it to your email as well. So 3 links. The first one is going to be the workshop, so you can join like workshops like these or future workshops. Second one is where you can actually, if you're interested, you can go ahead and sign up. We will be sending you a free starter pack with like 6 projects in 6 days. You also have a quiz in there to know like what kind of like techie you are, whether you're a software engineer, front end, back end, data analyst, stuff like that. We have that quiz in there. And for those that are really interested to become like a software developer, AI software engineer, what you can do is you can register and see if you want to join the bootcamp, right? So that's that. Okay, so right now, okay, picture time. All right, so now what I want everyone to do is go ahead and share your screen. Not share your screen. Turn on your cameras so that we can see all your beautiful faces. And then we just take like a group picture, like you can see in the picture here in the presentation. We can do a group picture, and then we'll just call it a day. Sounds good? So it can be a quick one. Everyone turn on your cameras. You can go ahead and scan this QR, or you can actually go ahead to our link here I'll be sharing in this chat. Basically, you guys can just let us know on the feedback, fill in the form, let us know your thoughts. and we'll be able to know like, okay, what you guys want, how can we improve later on. Yeah, pretty much anything you have in mind or that you're looking forward to, whether it can be, okay, Emil, you're kind of weird, I want someone else to teach, or I don't like your face, Emil, or the time is kind of weird for me. Anything, right? Just let us know. And yeah, so your feedback would be very helpful for like future events, so we'll know like what suits everyone the best, right? Cool. Okay, so floor is open. If anyone has questions about like the starter pack, our future events, the boot camp, about us, anything, feel free. If not, everyone is actually, you guys are free to go. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, and then I'll be probably closing. If no one has any questions, then I'll just end the call in a couple of minutes. Cool. All right, thanks Josh. Thanks Lushini. Thanks Dane. Thanks Arena. Thank you all. Thank you. All right, no questions? No questions. Going once, going twice. All good. All right. If no other questions, yeah, stay tuned for our future events. If anything, email us, WhatsApp us. Right? All right, everyone. Have a good night. Goodbye, Ian. Goodbye. Thank you for the class. Thank you, Nurul. Thank you, Tom. All right, take care. Have a good night, guys. Thank you, Lex. See you. Bye-bye.